We often define truth and proof based on linear thinking, relying on historical patterns and current data to validate what works. And it's one form of thinking based on reasoning and logic, which has value. Why do we place so much value on this when our brains operate in nonlinear and dynamic ways? What is possible when we operate in our natural default? We'll talk about this today. Thanks for being here. Nonlinear and exponential thinking is a topic I spend a lot of time in, guiding other leaders to master. It's actually how I've created a multi-million dollar business. It's the lens I see the world through, and it influences my entire life. It's how Henry Ford created the car and ultimately contributed to building the automotive industry. It's how Netflix went from a DVD service in red envelopes to creating a streaming media industry. And it's how Apple became to be what it is. But linear thinking dominates today. It's easier to quantify, it's easier to measure, and industries are designed around predictability and replication of known solutions. And linear thinking and really supports our societal structures of when X happens, then Y follows, all of which is based in survival centered thinking. If a company wants to improve sales, they lower prices, maybe they run ads. It's one approach, and marginal improvements are made. And this type of thinking keeps us focused on immediate results tied to survival thinking. But nonlinear and exponential thinking opens doors to opportunities, connections, and solutions that aren't obvious. It reframes problems and accesses an entirely new, hyper efficient approaches. It opens doors to new markets, products, ways of offering services that are even more impactful in both results and growth. And this is the type of thinking that propels us forward, especially in a rapidly shifting world and business landscape. If any of these innovators had relied on linear thinking, Henry Ford would have made faster horses, not cars. If Netflix had relied on historical and current data, they would have improved their membership rather than building a 350 billion streaming media company. If Apple had focused on improving the call quality and better keyboards, like consumer data showed, the entire category of the iPhone wouldn't have been birthed. But where did these ideas come from? And how do these exponential solutions and progress get cultivated? Well, I believe every single one of these began from an expansion of consciousness. That is what allows us to discover these solutions that we've never even thought about before. It's how new industries are created. It's how businesses grow at impossible speeds. And it's how we create solutions to seemingly unsolvable, complex problems. And there's nothing linear about this. And we will never know if these industries, brands, or markets would ever have existed if there wasn't an expansion of consciousness. I'm fine taking the risk to say they wouldn't be what they are if consciousness didn't exist. While scientists are trying to linearly prove what consciousness is in the context of existing tools, while others are tying it to new age or spiritual categories, or leaders who are linking it to this secret gateway based in psychedelic or mystical experiences. Consciousness is none of those things. Consciousness is an organic technology that every single person has access to, and it costs nothing. What would the value be on expanding consciousness that created a $7.5 trillion market today? Streaming media, the auto industry, and future technology. The progress it gave society, the opportunities, the jobs, how it's provided a platform for future advancement that we can't even place a numerical value on. This is the power of expanded consciousness. This is the power of nonlinear and exponential thinking. And this very topic that we're talking about is an example of parallel processing and seeing the interconnection of seemingly unrelated elements. So, what if we prioritize cultivating this? What if we allowed our brains to innately work creatively as they're designed? What if data and linear paths weren't the only way to point us forward or deliver solutions? What if we valued expanding our consciousness at the true value that it holds? And now imagine that on a large scale. This is the value I've placed on expanding my own consciousness. It's the value many have and many are discovering. What if we saw expanding our consciousness as the accessible, powerful, organic technology that it is? We'd start to balance other types of thinking. We'd start to seek out other types of thinking. We'd create new neural networks in our brains. We begin to have completely different thoughts about what's possible. We create new potential, new technology solutions that don't even exist today. And we begin to shape a new default system. We'd learn something completely different about ourselves, about our minds, and even how we optimally operate as humans. Instead of relying on what is and making decisions purely on what the data shows. The more we place this free, fully accessible tool into the category of mysticism or dogma, we miss the opportunity of what it has helped create and what it will create. And these pathways are not found in incremental improvements to existing trends. Valuing expanded consciousness would result in untapped solutions across all industries. It would vastly improve results in how we work, how we live, and how we lead. The potential and possibilities are endless. So, what value will you place on the expansion of consciousness in your life, in the way you lead, and in your business? Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you in the next episode.